If I were to break up now, would you give me a home? At the class reunion, my girlfriend lost a game of truth or dare and had to call the person she regretted most in her life. The man on the other end said firmly, I would. The room fell silent. Everyone expected me to lose my temper and flip the table, but I only calmly took off the ring on my ring finger. We hadn't officially registered our marriage yet, so it's not too late. I'll break up with her and clear the way for him. After saying that, I turned and left. Once home, I called my parents back in Jingbei. I've agreed to come home and get married. That's wonderful, Mingmu. You've finally come to your senses. You are the sole heir to the Ning Group. If you hadn't insisted on gaining more experience abroad these years, you should have married and taken over Jia long ago. Your father and I have already selected a match for you, just waiting for you to say the word. Listening to the relief in their voices, I felt an overwhelming sense of guilt. I lowered my eyes, my voice softening involuntarily. Just make the arrangements. Good, very good. How does January 19th sound for the wedding? When are you coming back? Would you like to meet your future spouse beforehand? Shall I arrange a meeting for you too soon? I just want to return to the Ning family as soon as possible to help you. The marriage is just a side matter. There's no need to meet. Just go ahead and plan the wedding. I will return the day before. As soon as I finished speaking, the bedroom door was pushed open. I turned my head instinctively. The wedding? What wedding? A friend is getting married, and I'm supposed to be the best man. Since it's a friend, you should go. I've been quite busy lately, so I probably won't be able to accompany you. It's okay, I'll just go by myself. Seeing how readily I agreed, Lu Ruyan didn't ask further. She took off her coat and set it on the sofa, then turned and went into the bathroom. A moment later, the sound of trickling water filled the room. The phone in her coat chimed a few times. Hearing the continuous pings, I hesitated for a moment, then took out her phone. The moment I opened it, a message popped up on the screen. From someone saved as, Xingyi. Do you still remember what you said back then? You don't actually intend to marry me, do you? Seeing this, my heart sank. My hands paused, and then I scrolled up slightly. A message Lu Ruyan had sent. Over 10 minutes ago came into view. Xingyi, in 33 days, it will be your 28th birthday. Do you still remember? I sat limply on the sofa, a whirlwind of chaotic memories flashing through my mind. My parents were always busy with official business, so I had lived abroad with my aunt for years. When I was 18, my aunt returned home to marry, and I came back with her and enrolled at University. To better enjoy my college life, I never mentioned my background to anyone. During the freshman orientation party in my senior year, I went on stage to play an accompaniment. The price of something, if you can't give it to me, please give it to him completely. As the song ended, I picked up my instrument and walked off stage, and the moment I looked down, I saw Lu Ruyan. She was wearing a white dress, holding a bouquet of flowers by the entrance, her eyes shining as she looked at me, asking with a smile if we could exchange contact information. I'm a sucker for beauty, so I agreed on the spot. From then on, we stayed in touch every day and occasionally bumped into each other in various places. 3 months after meeting, Lu Ruyan confessed to me. My first love was blooming, and it was love at first sight. I had no reason to refuse, so we just ended up together. From the age of 21 to 28, for 7 years, Lu Ruyan had been incredibly compliant with me. But as time went on and my family started urging me to go back for an arranged marriage, I refused repeatedly, and I even tested Lu Ruyan's thoughts a few times. But every time we talked about marriage, she would act as if it were a venomous snake, cutting the conversation short and refusing to discuss it. At first, I thought she just wasn't ready for marriage, but as it happened more often, I realized something was wrong. It wasn't until half a month ago, chatting after drinks at a gathering, that I learned the truth. Turns out I was never the person. In Lu Ruyan's heart, she had always been in love with her childhood friend, Xingyi. It's just a pity that the woman was willing but the man was not. Xingyi only ever saw her as a friend. I'm sorry, you're a good girl, but we aren't compatible. And the reason she had reached out to me was simply because on that first night we met, Xingyi was with someone else, and the way I looked playing the piano on stage, there was a hint of the person she truly admired in me, to make up for the disappointment in her heart. She only chose me to spite Xingyi. In the years that followed, Xingyi dated dozens of women on and off, and every time she heard news of his breakups, Lu Ruyan was tempted to go find him. But before she could even say a word, Xingyi would have already found a new target. The sorrow in her heart would deepen. Why did it have to be this way? Facing me, who was completely oblivious and deeply in love with her, she could only suppress the thought of breaking up. And so, going around in circles, 7 years passed, and we had yet to break up, nor had Lu Ruyan ever given up on waiting for Xing Yi to change his mind. She was still waiting for a joke Xing Yi had made when they were young and drunk. Ruyan, when I turn 28, if neither of us is married, why don't we just settle for each other? So, she asked him once every year. And this year, she finally made it to Xing Ye's 28th year. As I scrolled through the chat history on her phone, I smiled helplessly. 33 days from now would be Xing Ye's 28th birthday, and the date I had chosen for myself to end things and return home for my arranged marriage. I watched the neon lights flickering outside the window in silence. When I heard the door open behind me, Lu Ruyan, drying her hair, walked over and sat down beside me. I lowered my hand and said indifferently, "Your phone rang a few times just now." Hearing this, Lu Ruyan hurriedly wiped the water off her hands, took her phone from her pocket, and scrolled through it for a long time. I looked at her from the side, observing her focused and serious expression, and couldn't help but ask, "Who is the message from, that you're so engrossed?" My tone was casual, but Lu Ruyan wasn't her usual calm self. She stood up immediately. "It's something for work. I'll take care of it, you go to sleep first." Seeing her evasive attitude and the way she lied, a flash of self-mockery crossed my eyes. After watching her go into the study, I got up, turned off the lights, and lay back down. I don't know how much time had passed, when in the dark room, a very light sound of footsteps approached, and the glowing phone was placed on the nightstand. A hand gently wrapped around my waist, followed by a long silence, until I heard the rhythmic, steady sound of breathing beside me. I opened my eyes and reached out to take her phone. I opened it, and in the existing chat interface only 4 new characters had been added. Never forgotten. It was a simple phrase, but I could easily imagine the scene. When Lu Ruyan typed those words, she was likely biting her lip lightly, eyes fixed intently on the screen, typing this line with great care, agonizing over the wording, afraid that her feelings might be too easily detected, yet also afraid they might go unnoticed. Such a careful and cautious attitude only appeared when she was dealing with Xing Yi. As I thought about this, a bitter smile touched my lips. Then, I opened Lu Ruyan's social media profile. The background was pitch black, but if you tapped to look closer, you would find a single line at the bottom, "Always remembered," eventually echoed. When we first got together, I noticed this little quirk and asked her what it meant. She gave me a flimsy excuse back then, saying it was just a random image she found online and hadn't paid it any mind. Looking at it now, how could she have not noticed? It was clearly calculated, and done with the deepest intent. She was solely focused on the 28-year promise, waiting for Xing Yi to agree to marry her. Her original intention had never changed. She was determined to see it through. I lay there all night with my eyes closed, unable to sleep. At dawn, I heard rustling movements beside me and opened my eyes. "Come home early today." Lu Ruyan looked over, puzzled. "Is there something on?" After a long silence, I finally spoke slowly. "Today is your birthday. Did you forget?" For the past half-month, Lu Ruyan had been preoccupied with the 28-year promise to Xing Yi, unable to think of anything else. Now, even her own birthday had been pushed to the back of her mind. Reflecting on the 2 months I spent painstakingly preparing a surprise, only to have it all be in vain, I felt a complex mix of emotions. Lu Ruyan didn't notice the change in my expression, only muttering, "Keep it simple. No need for it to be as grand as before. The party has already been arranged, and everyone has agreed to come. It can't be cancelled." This birthday banquet had been planned 3 months ago. Back then, I didn't know there was someone else in her heart. Back then, I thought I was her only one. If I had known sooner, I wouldn't have organized it. Hearing my explanation, Lu Ruyan fell silent for a long time. Without saying anything more, I picked up my phone and left the bedroom. Before I turned around, I caught a glimpse of her slightly furrowed brows, and I lowered my head, murmuring to myself, "Never again. I will never plan her birthday ever again." After arriving at the company, I went to the HR department to resign. When I stepped out of the office, my colleagues saw what I was holding, my resignation letter, and the whole office exploded. "Ning Ming, you're leaving? Why resign so suddenly? Have you found your next job? You're so decisive. Don't tell me you're going back to inherit a multi-billion-dollar fortune." Hearing everyone's concern, I put down my things and gave a faint smile. "Going back to get married?" The colleagues nodded in sudden realization. "Ning Ming, did your girlfriend finally agree to marry you? No matter how much you hinted at it before, didn't she always avoid the topic? How did you suddenly figure it out?" I was too lazy to explain further, so I just shifted the topic. "Thanks for all your support over the years. I'll treat everyone to dinner later. After work, I spent 2 hours eating with my colleagues. By the time I arrived at the hotel where I had booked Lu Ruyan's birthday dinner, it was already 8 in the evening. I hurried to the door of the private room, and just as I was about to push it open, the conversation from inside made me stop. It's so cold outside. Who is Ruyan going to pick up? Who else? Xingyi, of course. I heard it earlier when I was close by. Xingyi said he was coming back today, so she went eagerly to pick him up. Really? Isn't Ruyan thrilled? He's turning 28 today, and in a little over a month, Xingyi will be 28 too. If he came back now, could it be that he's really here to fulfill his promise? I heard Xingyi broke up again. That's likely the case. Ah, I didn't hear that wrong? He really came back. But if they really get together, what happens to Ning Ming? We've kept it from him for so long. He doesn't even know who Xingyi is, and yet he's still so devoted to Ruyan. What can we do? Ruyan is completely hung up on Xingyi. If Xingyi agrees to fulfill his promise, he's 100% getting dumped. He can only blame his bad luck. Fortunately, he has no background, so it won't be hard to get rid of him if they really break up. Even though he's been great to us and to Ruyan all these years, we are Ruyan's best friends. We have to stand by her side. When the time comes for them to break up, let's not make it difficult for Ruyan. We can step in and offer some cars or houses as a breakup settlement. I stood at the door and listened quietly for a long time without moving. Perhaps because I had already made up my mind to leave, I wasn't as sad as I had been half a month ago. Instead, I found it somewhat amusing. Lu Ruyan wanted to break up with me, and she even needed her best friends to handle the dismissal. What kind of relationship have I been in for these 7 years? I stood outside the door and thought. Just then, some waiters pushed a cart of wine over, so I quickly stepped aside. The moment they helped open the door, the discussion inside came to an abrupt halt. I walked in as if nothing had happened, smiling and greeting everyone. After some small talk, Lu Ruyan pushed the door open again, bringing a strange man with her. I calmly studied the figure that looked 3 or 4 parts like me. Lu Ruyan walked around the room with him, and finally came to me. This is my childhood friend, Xingyi. This is my casual friend. When Lu Ruyan said that, she was already prepared for me to be angry. But things went beyond her expectations. I didn't react at all. I only looked up and stared deeply at Lu Ruyan for a moment, then withdrew my hand and stepped back 2 paces, keeping my distance from both of them. Hello, I am her casual friend. After the introductions were finished, the room became lively again. Xingyi was extroverted and chatted with everyone, walking from one end of the room to the other with a glass of wine to toast. Because it was Lu Ruyan's birthday, many people brought their boyfriends, but Xingyi didn't care at all. He gathered a group of people to drink and play games, leaving the official boyfriend on the sidelines. When they were really getting into it, Xingyi was holding playing cards and couldn't be bothered, so he asked someone to feed him some watermelon. Lu Ruyan didn't even hesitate. She used her own fork to stab a piece and fed it to him. Xingyi didn't think much of it either and naturally leaned over to take a few bites. Lu Ruyan then picked up his red wine glass and handed it to his lips. There was a dark red lipstick mark on the transparent glass. Xingyi leaned in and drank that half glass of wine. I sat a few meters away, watching Lu Ruyan hold that glass without letting go, drinking wine continuously, and every time she took a sip, it was exactly where Xingyi had just touched his lips. By the end, she was already a bit drunk, but the classic birthday routine couldn't be skipped. Everyone sang the birthday song, and told her to stand up to blow out the candles and make a wish. The noisy room went silent, and I stood up to bring the cake over myself. She rubbed her temples as if trying to dispel her drunkenness. Her hazy eyes swept across the room, and then she held up a finger. I don't want to make a wish for this year's birthday. Let's swap it for a question instead. Xingyi, you're turning 28 soon too. I want to ask you a question. Do you have a girlfriend now? As soon as these words were spoken, all the onlookers began to look at one another. Facing the prying gazes coming from all directions, Xingyi answered with a slight sense of reserve. Not at the moment. After a brief silence, someone let out a surprised, "Wow!" The room instantly exploded. A few of the girls who had been drinking stood up and nudged a slightly tipsy Lu Ruyan. Drink some more. Drink some more. The party carried on until dawn before it finally ended. Once everyone had dispersed, I helped Lu Ruyan into the car. She was still immersed in her previous joy, and leaning on my shoulder, she spoke a lot of sincere words. Xingyi, don't leave. Stay by my side, okay? Why is it that everyone else can have you, but I can't? Xingyi, Xingyi, do you know how much I love you? I've waited for you for so many years, every single day. Xingyi, the female driver in the front seat had been listening the whole way and couldn't help but chuckle. As I was getting out of the car, She saw me helping the drunk woman and didn't forget to tease me. Xingyi, your girlfriend loves you so much. She does love Xingyi, but I am not Xingyi. When she woke up from her hangover the next morning, Lu Ruyan remembered what happened last night and grabbed me to start explaining. As soon as I arrived at the club yesterday, I was forced to drink a lot, so I might have said a lot of nonsense. Those were just drunken vows. Don't take them to heart. I didn't expect her to remember what happened last night, and I didn't expect her to come up with such a pathetic excuse. It's fine, I know. For some reason, looking at my calm and expressionless face, and then thinking back to my reaction when she introduced me to Xingyi yesterday, Lu Ruyan felt inexplicably flustered. After thinking it over, she felt something was off and hurriedly changed the subject. Ning Ming, are you a bit angry? Shall we go on a date after work today? I'm not angry. I have something to do this afternoon, so I can't. Seeing my flat refusal, Lu Ruyan became even more insistent, and I couldn't resist, so I agreed. Evening came quickly, and just as I had finished changing and was about to head out, a message from Fang Yuan suddenly came through. Ning Ming, did you not tell your girlfriend about your resignation? She just came looking for you, and she seems very angry right now. Before I could finish reading the message, a call from Lu Ruyan came through. Looking at the screen pulsing, a look of gravity flashed in my eyes, and after a moment of hesitation, I pressed the answer button. Lu Ruyan's irate voice came through the phone. My colleague told me you resigned and are going to get married? I told you, I have no plans to get married right now. So she thought I was forcing her into marriage. No wonder she was so angry. I realized this, and explained calmly. Those were just jokes from my colleagues. They must have taken them seriously. I resigned because I've been a bit tired lately, and I want to take a break. Don't make jokes like that in the future. I agreed in a low voice. Then I heard Lu Ruyan ask where I was, saying she wanted to come to find me. I was about to give her the address, when a very faint laugh suddenly came from the phone, sounding exactly like Xingyi. After the two of them exchanged contact information last night, I had just seen his social media post, a selfie in a car, so it turned out she was with Xingyi. I replied in a detached tone that it wasn't necessary, and the call was quickly hung up. Looking at the screen as it went dark, a self-mocking smile appeared on my lips. If she really wanted to find me, why would she have hung up so quickly? She was just going through the motions. Why did I take it seriously? I soon arrived at the restaurant where Lu Ruyan had made the reservation. When the waiter heard the name, they led me to a private room on the top floor. Ms. Lu called 10 minutes ago to place the order. She said for you to please eat first, as she has an urgent matter, and might be late. Recalling the phone call earlier, a cold expression appeared on my face. An urgent matter? I wonder if she's off to accompany Xingyi again? Actually, it's not really a lie because for her, as long as she is with the person she loves, even the smallest trifles are considered urgent matters. Once I figured that out, I didn't dwell on it and went straight into the private room. The waiter enthusiastically began to set the cutlery for me, describing each dish one by one. Looking at the table full of seafood, I squinted slightly. During those years abroad, I never got used to Western food, and having eaten so much seafood, I had grown tired of it. I still haven't adapted since returning to the country. If I were dining with her in the past, I probably would have accommodated her when seeing these dishes, but now, I don't want to wrong myself ever again. With a wave of my hand, I asked the waiter to take them away. The waiter hesitated for a moment before speaking honestly. Mr. Ning, Ms. Lu has already paid for this table, and it is very expensive. Are you sure you don't want it? I understand that if I cancel everything, the restaurant will not offer a refund. Go ahead and cancel them. Just use this card for any new dishes we order until we finish our meal. Lu Ruyan still didn't show up, and not wanting to wait for her any longer, I paid the bill and hailed a taxi home. Halfway there, a few messages popped up. Ning Mingmu. Could you stay somewhere else tonight? Xingyi has suddenly returned to the country, and the old house hasn't been tidied up, so it's not fit for living. Many of the lights are broken, and her stomach is feeling a bit unwell. She shouldn't be left without care. I want to let her come over and stay for the night. Would that be okay? While having to take care of Xingyi, she is also afraid that I might discover the nature of their relationship. It really is quite interesting. This time, I was in no mood to play along with her act, so I asked her directly. Isn't she your friend? Why must you hide our relationship? And how long do you intend to keep this a secret? A long time passed after the message was sent before I received a reply. Lu Ruyan offered no explanation, simply replying with a date, January 18th. If it were in the past, I certainly wouldn't know why she chose this day, but now I understand that the 18th is Xingyi's birthday. If Xingyi fulfills his promise and stays with her that day, she would likely ask to break up with me without hesitation. If she gets rejected, she at least has me, her official boyfriend, as a backup. Whether moving forward or taking a step back, She has found a perfect solution. I almost admire her for it. It's just a pity that I no longer wish to be a spare tire in her love life. I didn't reply to her and simply turned off my phone. Then, I gave the driver the address of a hotel. I had some wine before bed and didn't wake up until the afternoon of the next day. I wanted to check the time, but as soon as I turned my phone on, dozens of new messages popped up, most of which were from Lu Ruyan, with a few others from her close friends. Mingmu, where are you? Why aren't you answering your calls or replying to messages? Don't throw a tantrum and scare people. Ruyan is acting like a madwoman, looking for you the entire night. Looking at these accusation-filled messages, I sneered. Turning off my phone to get some sleep is considered scaring people? If I were to break up and disappear home to get married, would they complain that I'm being petty again? Besides, who among them doesn't know that Xingyi is the one held closest to Lu Ruyan's heart, and she would never risk her own life for me? As I was thinking this, Lu Ruyan called. Mingmu, Xingyi is just coming over to stay for a night. Is it really necessary to be this angry? Even if you aren't happy, you shouldn't vent your dissatisfaction in this way. I couldn't be bothered to explain further and gave a casual excuse. I'm not dissatisfied. My phone just died and turned off automatically. Then why, no matter what time it was before, could I always reach you, yet it just happened to die last night? Hearing her questioning, I paused, recalling many things from the past. A few years ago, late one night, Lu Ruyan had a sudden stomachache, and when she called Xingyi, she dialed my number by mistake. I got up immediately to bring her medicine when I heard. Last year, she went abroad for a business trip, with a 7 or 8 hour time difference. Lu Ruyan couldn't remember the time here, and at 3 or 4 in the morning, she called to ask me for a document. I fought off my sleepiness, got up, and turned on the computer to help her find it. Each and every incident was proof of how deeply I loved her. It's just a pity that no matter how much I gave, she never saw it. Thinking of this, my tone carried a touch of uncontrollable self-mockery. I was just afraid that when you needed me, I wouldn't be there anymore. Yesterday, you probably didn't need me. Hearing my ambiguous tone, Lu Ruyan felt a slight tremor deep inside. Together for 7 years, I followed her lead in everything and listened to her. We never quarreled or argued. Many things she didn't want to explain I never forced, and even if I felt a little sulky, she could soothe me with just a bit of effort. In our daily life, from household chores to dates, I took care of her in every way. If she were to ask herself, Lu Ruyan would have to admit that I was an almost perfect boyfriend. Remembering how well I treated her in the past, her tone softened slightly. I know, I was just too worried about you earlier, which is why I spoke so harshly. I'm sorry, Mingmu. Where are you now? I'll come to find you. I didn't want to see her at that moment and just said it wasn't necessary. For the next half-month, I didn't see Lu Ruyan at all. I seemed to have forgotten about her as a girlfriend. Not a single call made, not a single message returned. Through Xing Ye's social media, I was clearly aware of her whereabouts, but I didn't want to question where she was going, nor did I want to dwell on what she was thinking. For me, every day at this moment was nothing more than a countdown. I was in no mood to waste any more energy on someone destined for a farewell. On New Year's Eve, snow began to fall from the sky, and I felt quite good. Wrapped in a blanket by the floor-to-ceiling window, I watched movies all night until the early hours of the morning. Fireworks and firecrackers boomed outside the window. Tired, I lay back on the rocking chair and scrolled through my social media feed. The front door, which had been quiet all night, suddenly echoed with footsteps. I braced myself and sat up. I saw Lu Ruyan return, dead drunk. She staggered in and dropped a pile of bags she was carrying onto the sofa. Then, right in front of me, she began to unpack them one by one. These are the 2 scarves I just bought. It's snowing so hard outside. Ning Ming, are you cold? Ning Ming. This is the Rolex I bought a few days ago, a New Year's gift for you. Look, do you like it? As she spoke, she tried to pile all the gifts she held onto me at once. Feeling stifled by the heat, I untied the scarf and tossed it aside. She started grabbing my hands to apologize. I'm sorry, I've been too busy these past few days. I didn't have time to come back to see you. Are you still mad at me? And that last time, I shouldn't have stood you up. Ning Ming, please forgive me, okay? Let's be good to each other from now on. As she said this, Lu Ruyan leaned in to kiss me. I couldn't stand the smell of alcohol on her. I didn't know what kind of madness had taken hold of her, but after much coaxing, I finally got her into the bedroom. Once she fell asleep, I tidied up the bags scattered across the living room floor, then picked up my phone to refresh my social media feed. Message after message appeared, but the one that caught my attention most was Xing Ye's. He had posted a 9-photo collage. The collage consisted of photos of him and a girl in the snow. The caption was also quite telling. Met the person I love in my heart at the first snow. Seeing this, all my confusion vanished. No wonder Lu Ruyan had come back dead drunk and was so eager to show me affection. So, the person she loves has started a new relationship. Well, that makes sense. If that weren't the case, why would she suddenly think of me, this old flame? A flicker of irony flashed in my eyes. I raised my hand, unclasped my watch, and threw it on the table. Over the next few days, Lu Ruyan acted like a completely different person. She didn't go anywhere and stayed home the whole time. She said she wanted to keep me company. I casually mentioned I wanted the dessert from a restaurant dozens of kilometers away. She braved the snow to buy it for me. Whenever I felt slightly uncomfortable, she would obediently stay by my side to cook rice porridge for me. When I lingered on some travel ads, she immediately started planning a trip for us after the new year. Perhaps because she was hurt, she treated me with more care this time than ever before. But I would never be moved by her again. I watched her quietly as she played the role of a qualified girlfriend. Watching her scramble around just because of a few words I said, I didn't feel a shred of guilt. For this final period, let her paying for all this be considered settling her past debts. Thinking this way, I felt even less burdened. After the snow stopped, my mother sent over some designs for wedding outfits, asking which one I liked. I held up my phone, flipping through them and zooming in on each one. I was so focused on the details of the clothes that I didn't notice Lu Ruyan walk up behind me, until she snatched the phone away. I turned around in a panic. Her face had turned gloomy. Ning Ming, why are you looking at wedding outfits? I lied without blinking. Didn't I tell you last time? A friend of mine is getting married soon, and there was an issue with her wedding dress, so she's picking out a new one. She asked me to help her pick. Seeing that my expression remained unchanged, Lu Ruyan's doubts slowly faded. She handed the phone back to me and asked, "What date is the wedding? I'll go with you." Looking at her serious expression, a very subtle look appeared on my face. January 19th. Do you really want to go? I stared at her steadily, patiently waiting for her answer. Lu Ruyan was silent for a long time before finally forcing a strained smile. Let's see when the time comes. In the following days, I began to prepare for my departure. Ever since that question, Lu Ruyan had fallen back into a state of melancholy, acting as if she were in a dream, lost in her own thoughts. With the wedding as a cover, I didn't avoid her and packed my luggage right in front of her. It had been 6 years since I moved into this apartment after graduation. My belongings filled the room. I only chose a few items I couldn't bear to leave behind and put them in a suitcase. As for the rest, I didn't take a single thing. Anyway, once I return to Jingbei, I'll be on my own turf. If I need anything, I'll just buy it there. I'll leave these things here. Time quickly arrived at January 18th. The weather was gloomy, looking as if it might rain. Lu Ruyan got up very early. I sat on the sofa, staring at my phone. I had woken up a bit late. As I sat at the dining table eating breakfast, the nanny looked at the sky and asked, "Mr. Ning, it looks like it's going to rain. Should you leave for the airport early?" Upon hearing this, Lu Ruyan suddenly looked up and instinctively asked, "The airport? Why are you going to the airport?" "I'm attending a wedding tomorrow. You said you'd think about it. Have you made up your mind?" I said casually, watching Lu Ruyan quietly. She was silent for a few seconds, before finally saying, "It's too far. I'm not going. I'll drop you off at the airport." I wasn't surprised by this answer. I wiped my hands and went back to the bedroom to grab my bag. When I went out, Lu Ruyan had already parked the car at the apartment entrance to wait for me. As I sat in the car and buckled my seatbelt, her phone suddenly rang. She clicked it open in a hurry, and the next second, her usually cold brow revealed an irrepressible joy. She put down her phone, unbuckled her seatbelt, and pushed the door open. Just as she was about to get out, she realized what she was doing and hurriedly turned back to explain to me. "Ning Mu, something came up at the company. I have to go take care of it. I'll have the driver take you to the airport." After all these years together, from her flickering eyes, I could easily tell she was lying, but I didn't call her out. I nodded slightly. By the time the driver arrived, Lu Ruyan was already in the sports car parked nearby. She rolled down the window and waved at me. "Ning Mu, when are you coming back?" "Coming back? After this trip? I won't be coming back ever again." I smiled without answering her and just waved my hand. Fortunately, Lu Ruyan didn't notice, and she sped away in her sports car. I sat in the passenger seat, watching the car drive out of sight, before whispering to the driver, "Let's go." A light drizzle began to fall, dampening the car windows and blurring the street view. I couldn't see the surroundings clearly anymore, and I didn't want to look anyway. To Lu Ruyan, I said silently in my heart, "Goodbye, Lu Ruyan. Never again." Before boarding, I received a call from my father. "Ning Mu, what time do you arrive? I'll have Xiao Bai pick you up." I wanted to get home early, so I didn't refuse. I hadn't slept well last night, so I felt sleepy as soon as I got on the plane, and I dozed off for the 2-hour flight. After landing in Jingbei, I had just walked out of the arrival gate when someone stopped me. "Mr. Ning, Uncle Ning sent me to pick you up." Hearing this crisp voice, I squinted at her, thinking she must be the driver, Xiao Bai, but why was she a girl? I leaned against the car window and drifted off again as soon as I got in. When I woke up, I saw an unfamiliar villa outside the window and gave a sudden start, my tone full of deep suspicion. "Where is this? This isn't my house, is it?" Seeing my reaction, Xiao Bai smiled gently. "It isn't today, but it will be tomorrow. To be precise, it's the bridal suite." The bridal suite? Only then did I finally get a sense of reality regarding the fact that I was getting married tomorrow. I opened the door, got out, and walked slowly toward the house. Xiao Bai followed behind as I surveyed the yard, asking her questions. "Do you know the name of my bride tomorrow?" Hearing this, Xiao Bai gave me a startled look. "Her name is Bai Ningbin." Upon hearing that, I frowned, a trace of confusion rising in my heart. Why didn't I remember any prominent family in Jingbei named Bai? Perhaps I had been wandering away for too long, and I no longer understood the ways of the capital. I comforted myself internally and asked Xiao Bai a few more urgent questions. "Where is the wedding venue?" "Ping'an Villa." "What time is the wedding banquet tomorrow?" 11 in the morning. With these quick questions and answers, I was satisfied with the driver's competence. "Are you driving the wedding car tomorrow too?" There was a few seconds of silence behind me, followed by Xiao Bai's slightly surprised voice. "Not me. Uncle Ning will probably arrange someone else." Soon we reached the villa entrance. Looking at the door just a few steps away, I turned around to grab my suitcase. "I'll take the suitcase myself. You should head back." After I finished speaking, the person in front of me didn't reply, nor did she show any intention of leaving. I felt it was strange and was about to ask her if there was something else. On the balcony above, my mother's voice suddenly called out, "Mingmu is back. Come up quickly and see your wedding house." I immediately looked up and greeted my mother, but as I tugged at my suitcase, I found myself unable to move an inch. Seeing my hesitation, my mother waved a hand. "Oh, Xiao Bai. Come up together. You're getting married tomorrow, don't be shy." The driver is named Xiao Bai? Could my fiancée, Bai Ningbin, be her? This realization left me frozen in my tracks. I fully snapped back to reality, looked up and locked eyes with those smiling, bright eyes. Seeing the shock in my gaze, Bai Ningbin also understood the reason, and took the initiative to reach out a hand. "Forgive me for the formal introduction just now, Mr. Ning. I am Bai Ningbin." I forced an awkward smile and quickly reached out to shake her hand. My tone was full of guilt. "I'm sorry, I wasn't fully awake just now and mistook you for someone else." Bai Ningbin smiled warmly upon hearing this, completely unbothered. "It's all right. We have plenty of time ahead to get to know each other slowly." Meanwhile, Lu Ruyan arrived at the restaurant reserved by Xing Yi as planned. Before entering the private room, she lowered her head to straighten her skirt. Her phone suddenly buzzed a few times. She took it out and saw it was a message from the driver, saying that Mr. Ning had already boarded his flight. After some hesitation, she still sent a message. "Let me know when you arrive and are safe." Composing herself, Lu Ruyan took a deep breath and pushed the door open. Everything in the room, from the decorations to the cake, was white, and the guests were also dressed in light-colored clothing. At first glance, Lu Ruyan even had the illusion that she had wandered into a wedding ceremony. Her eyes locked onto the figure in the center who haunted her dreams, and her heart rate accelerated involuntarily. She walked over quickly. Through a few people, Lu Ruyan heard some of the guys nearby seemingly teasing something. "Xing Yi, you've hidden her for so long. Aren't you going to bring her out for us to see today? What's the rush? When it's time to make a wish later, I'll be sure to blow your minds." Make a wish? Remembering what happened at her own birthday party a month ago, a flicker of anticipation suddenly rose in Lu Ruyan's eyes. A joke made at 16. Could it actually come true today? For several hours, Lu Ruyan couldn't stop thinking about this, nervously sipping her drink. By the time the cake was brought out, her hands were trembling slightly. Several close friends gathered around her, their eyes filled with enigmatic glee. "Ruyan, your dream is about to come true. How do you feel?" Lu Ruyan lowered her head, smiling in silence. Shinju Xin, who was also enjoying the show, suddenly remembered something and reached out to tap her shoulder. "But if it happens, what about Ningmu? At Xing Ye's birthday venue?" Upon hearing my name, Lu Ruyan's smile stopped abruptly, and a sense of guilt welled up in her heart. Her friends noticed her expression and quickly comforted her. "It's fine. Break up with him, do it right now. Besides, he's just an ordinary boy. Easy to get rid of. Yeah, if he makes a scene, we'll help you handle it. Ruyan, don't you worry." Encouraged by them, Lu Ruyan took out her phone and typed a few words, but her finger hesitated before sending. Seeing her indecision, the others grew impatient and grabbed her hand, forcing it down. Soon, right below the message, "Let me know when you arrive and are safe," a new message appeared. "Let's break up." The two messages were 3 hours apart. Calculating the time, my plane should have landed by now, and I should be seeing this message soon, right? As Lu Ruyan was still pondering, her friends pulled her directly to the center of the room. Amidst the birthday songs filling the hall, and under Lu Ruyan's expectant gaze, Xingyi clasped his hands together and piously made a wish. "I hope my 28th year goes perfectly, and that I can make next year's wish with Jixia." As soon as these words were spoken, the smile on Lu Ruyan's face instantly drained away, turning deathly pale. The rest of the room began to clamor as if boiling over. "Who is Jixia? Xingyi, aren't you going to introduce her to us?" Amidst the cheers, a blush spread across Xing Ye's face. "She is my new girlfriend." As soon as he finished, the door to the room was pushed open from the outside, and a beautiful girl with a stunning figure stepped in slowly. "Hello, everyone. I am Xing Ye's girlfriend, Su Jixia." In the midst of the noisy crowd, Xingyi smiled as he held his new girlfriend's hand, sharing little details about their romance. Lu Ruyan sat in the corner, feeling utterly withered. Drinking glass after glass with her close friends, they all eventually became tipsy. Shen Juxin swayed as she stood up and walked over to Xingyi, and amid the surprised gazes of everyone, she spoke up for her best friend. "Xingyi, have you forgotten the promise you made to Lu Ruyan back then?" Hearing this, a flicker of curiosity crossed Su Jixia's face. "A promise? What promise?" Xing Ye's expression instantly became extremely awkward, but Shin Juxin was too drunk to care, and the other friends quickly stepped in to save the situation. "You promised Lu Ruyan you would be with her when you turned 28. Yes, we all remember. Are you going to be a heartbreaker?" Su Jixia's face, which had been smiling, gradually grew cold. She turned her head and looked deeply at Xingyi. "Xingyi, is what they said true? How can you take drunken jokes seriously? Besides, I was talking about being single back then, but I have a girlfriend now, so how could that count?" Xingyi denied it without a second thought, every word piercing Lu Ruyan's heart like a knife. Clutching her chest in extreme pain, she braced herself against the sofa to stand up, and under the gaze of everyone, she laughed like a madwoman. "Yes, it doesn't count. Having a girlfriend, only having a boyfriend, it was all just a joke." These few sentences brought a smile back to Su Jixia's face. She took Xing Ye's hand, walked up to Lu Ruyan, and put on an expression as if nothing had happened. "It seems it really was just a misunderstanding. I heard long ago that CEO Lu had a boyfriend. Why didn't you bring him along today?" Lu Ruyan's mind went blank, but she forced a smile and met her gaze. "He went back to attend a wedding. He's busy." Upon hearing this, Su Jixia nodded noncommittally, though a flash of displeasure crossed Xing Ye's eyes, and his tone was filled with skepticism. "A boyfriend? Who? I've been back in the country for so long. Why haven't you mentioned him?" Lu Ruyan couldn't say a single word. Shin Juxin hurriedly stepped forward to steady her, then turned to glare viciously at Xingyi. Her tone filled with mockery. "Ning Mingmu is Lu Ruyan's boyfriend. He was the most handsome boy at her birthday party. Don't you remember even that?" Xingyi recalled. "The way I smiled and claimed we were just friends that night, always feeling something was off, and instinctively retorted, but that day, both of them said they were just friends. It was just a lover's spat." "Xingyi, you've dated so many people, don't you understand that? It's precisely because I've seen so much that I want to ask a few more questions. Since you both say he's the boyfriend, why don't I call him and ask? It would be a good chance for me to meet the new brother-in-law." As soon as these words were out, the faces of Lu Ruyan and her friends darkened visibly, as they all simultaneously remembered that breakup message from just moments ago. Seeing their grim expressions, Xingyi took out his phone and dialed a voice call. Knowing the truth was about to come out, the women tried to grab the phone, but Su Jixia, being protective, pulled them behind her. Xingyi pushed forward, turned the volume to the maximum, and put it on speaker for the whole room to hear. The room fell silent, leaving only the sound of ding, ding, ding. Lu Ruyan tucked her hands into her sleeves, clenching them into tight fists. She prayed silently in her heart, praying that I wouldn't answer the call, praying that I hadn't seen the message yet. During the minute-long ringing, Lu Ruyan felt as if her heart was about to burst out of her chest. As the call was about to end automatically, everyone looked uneasy. The call was answered, and my calm, slightly surprised voice came through the speaker. "Mr. Xing, is something the matter?" Lu Ruyan's face turned deathly pale, and in stark contrast, Xingyi wore an unreadable smile. "It's nothing. It's just my birthday today, and I heard you are Lu Ruyan's boyfriend, so I wanted to invite you over to join us." There was a brief silence on the other end, and Lu Ruyan was so nervous she could barely breathe. Sorry, I am in Jingbei right now. I'm afraid I can't make it. Hearing that my tone was normal, Lu Ruyan guessed I hadn't seen the message yet and felt slightly relieved. But my words didn't stop there. I let out a meaningful, soft chuckle and said, "By the way, I have already broken up with Lu Ruyan, Mr. Xing. Please don't misunderstand." Broken up? When did that happen? Xing Ye's tone was filled with surprise and schadenfreude. Not long ago, about 10 minutes ago, I received her breakup message. Before I could reply, "Mr. Xing, please tell him that I accept." Xing Yi gave a light, mocking smile, his gaze sweeping coldly over the young socialites who were deliberately provoking him. His voice was soft. "Very well, I will relay the message. Sorry to have disturbed you. That would be appreciated. Happy 28th birthday, and I wish for all lovers to find their happy ending." Whether accidental or intentional, I put heavy emphasis on the words 28th birthday when I offered my well wishes. The subtext was clear to everyone present. I already knew the truth of the matter, yet no one dared to speak up and ask. They could only watch helplessly as the call ended. After such a scene, the atmosphere in the room instantly dropped to freezing. After a silence that lasted a good 5 or 6 minutes, Su Ziyuan finally stepped in as the peacemaker, offering Lu Ruyan a glass of wine. That finally allowed them to move past the incident. After draining the last drop in her glass, Lu Ruyan slammed it down heavily. She left the birthday party with several of her close friends. Just before walking out, I vaguely heard her ask, "Xing Yi, is this Mr. Ning from Jingbei? Why do you ask?" "It's nothing, just that the surname Ning in Jingbei sounds a bit familiar. Maybe I'm overthinking it." As soon as we left, her friends crowded around her, pulled her into a separate private room, and began to comfort her all at once. "It's fine. It's actually a good thing you aren't marrying a man like Xing Yi. Otherwise, just based on the number of ex-girlfriends he's dated over the last 7 years, he'd need a dozen extra tables for the wedding banquet. A playboy who falls for whoever he sees. If you actually married him, something bound to go wrong. It's better to just stay with Ning Ming." Exactly. How is Ning Ming not better than Xing Yi in every way? He was definitely just angry today, which is why he said those things. You should go back and coax him properly, explain things to him. He likes you so much, he'll surely understand. With them providing such a morale boost, Lu Ruyan's despondent mood settled slightly. She took out her phone, found my contact, and racked her brain to craft a message. "Ning Ming, I just lost a game with everyone, and the punishment was to tell my boyfriend we're breaking up, and then have someone else call you to see your reaction. Don't take it to heart. How long have you been in Jingbei? Have you checked into the hotel? Or are you busy preparing the wedding venue? Are you coming back tomorrow or the day after? Shall I come pick you up?" The message was sent long ago, but there was no reply. Lu Ruyan stared fixedly at the screen, her heart in a panic. The group exchanged glances, and quickly ordered a crate of alcohol to distract her. "Oh, it's a wedding after all. He must be too busy to get away. Ruyan, don't overthink it. He'll reply to you once he's free." Jushin was right. If he were truly angry, the worst-case scenario is that we can just accompany you to Jingbei tomorrow to apologize in person. When I received these messages, I was in my room, accompanied by Ningbing while she tried on her wedding dress. I couldn't help but laugh as soon as I saw the first line. So that was the excuse Lu Ruyan came up with. It's a pity I won't believe a single word of it now. I could imagine the scene without even thinking. Lu Ruyan had been rejected by Xing Yi in public and was only saying this to save face. When I thought back to that inexplicable phone call, I suspected the reality of the scene was even more interesting. At that moment, I suddenly felt a little regretful that I hadn't been there to see it for myself. I sighed softly, and by Ningbing, who was adjusting the hem of her dress, looked up upon hearing me. "What's wrong? Is this dress not pretty? If so, I'll have someone bring some new ones over." "No, it's nothing. I just missed a good show because of our wedding, that's all." "A good show? What kind of show? Would you like to tell me about it?" Although I felt like sharing, I knew that in front of my fiancé, it felt inappropriate to mention my ex-girlfriend, so I decided to change the subject. "It was just some friends in Shanghai celebrating a birthday, and there were some misunderstandings. It's nothing important. Let's stick to planning the wedding." Seeing that I didn't want to talk about it, Bai Ningbing didn't press further. She went to the living room to get some desserts, and spent the whole afternoon working with me. "Are you a bit hungry? Let's have some snacks first. After we finish, I'll take you out for dinner." I was indeed a bit hungry, so I asked what she wanted to eat, wrote it all down, and went out to make the arrangements. I fell into deep thought as I ordered the meal. Based on the intelligence I had just gathered, Bai Ningbing was the third daughter of the Bai group in Jingbei, 2 years younger than me. She had an older sister 2 years her senior, and another older sister 5 years her senior, who was currently the vice president of the Bai group. She was raised under the tutelage of her eldest sister, so she was poised and dignified, unlike her playboy second sister who changed boyfriends every day. In recent years, the Ning and Bai families had frequent dealings, and it was only after careful assessment and inquiry that the Ning family tentatively proposed a marriage alliance. According to my mother, Bai Ningbing had agreed as soon as she saw my photo. She seemed very satisfied with me. I do not agree with this remark. After all, I ended my previous relationship and returned home to get married. I am genuinely here to contribute to the Ning family, and from beginning to end, I never took this arranged marriage to heart. I only thought that if we could get along, we would, and if not, we would divorce. It is just a business marriage. Neither I nor Bai Ningbin had any choice, so I do not think she would fall in love at first sight, as my mother said. I only find that to be a nonsensical fairy tale. After spending an afternoon together, although we cannot yet be considered familiar, I could glimpse from the subtle details that this fiancée is quite good. Not to mention her appearance, which is naturally top tier. As for her temperament, she seems gentle and kind for now, and she is organized, attentive, and very worldly. Overall, I am satisfied with this heaven-sent fiancé. Beyond satisfaction, there is even a hint of pleasant surprise. It seems my parents' judgment is still quite good. After drinking all night, the first thing Lu Ruyan did upon waking was to check her phone to see if I had sent any messages. More than a dozen hours had passed, but the chat window remained blank. She rubbed her eyes fiercely, and in a fit of rage, smashed her phone against the wall, instantly startling everyone. Just by watching her actions, everyone's drunkenness faded away. Shin Jushin reacted first and immediately called her secretary to book for tickets to Jingbei. Once out of the bar, the group headed straight to the airport. On the way, Lu Ruyan stared blankly at the distant skyscrapers, feeling some regret. If she had known she would end up empty-handed, she should have just agreed to return to Jingbei with me yesterday. As she pondered, her heart grew increasingly desolate, and she could only try to comfort herself, thinking that even if she hadn't made it, hearing Xing Yi say those things in person meant she could finally give up completely. During these dozen years waiting for me, she had wanted to give up countless times, but because of the agreement regarding her 28th birthday, she always held on to a glimmer of hope, especially after being with me. She felt like she was having a mental breakdown. She didn't know how to face this boyfriend who was so devoted to her. Now that she faced this multiple-choice question, it was time to make a final decision. She tentatively asked her close friends, "If I can't coax Ning Mingmu today, I want to propose marriage and see. What do you think?" Hearing the word marriage, her friend's eyes widened. Marry him? With her family background, wouldn't his uncle and aunt disagree? She is pretty good, looks good, and has a good temper, but I think dating is fine. But for real marriage, she isn't quite worthy of you. Although they were all throwing cold water on the idea, Lu Ruyan didn't take it in at all. She leaned back in her chair, her mind constantly replaying every little detail of the time we spent together. After her 25th birthday, every few months, I would explicitly or implicitly bring up marriage to test her attitude. She knew my thoughts, and knew my family was urging us, but for the sake of her own selfishness, she pretended not to understand. Now that both of us were not young anymore, and I had been so devoted to her, she had come to her senses, not wanting to miss out on me again. After the plane landed at the capital airport, Lu Ruyan called me. My attitude was not particularly good. "Is there something you need, ex-girlfriend?" Upon hearing this address, Lu Ruyan thought of what happened yesterday, and her blood pressure soared, but she knew now was not the time to lose her temper, so she suppressed her anger and patiently explained. "Mingmu, yesterday's breakup was just a joke. Please believe me." "Really? I don't care if it was a game. I only believe what I see. You don't need to explain. I am very busy now and have no time to chat with you." After saying that, I hung up the phone regardless of her reaction. Lu Ruyan was so angry at my attitude that her expression turned extremely dark. Shin Jushin quickly dragged her into the car. "Don't argue over the phone. When you see him later, say some sweet words, and he'll be coaxed back in no time." Her friends took turns trying to persuade her. The car pulled out of the underground garage, and when the driver asked for the address, everyone was stunned, staring at each other in confusion, as no one knew where the wedding venue was. Shin Jushin wanted to ask Lu Ruyan to call and ask again, but fearing they would start arguing, she used her own phone to call. "Mingmu, we have arrived in Jingbei. Where is the wedding venue?" A few seconds later, a female voice came over the phone. "Just come straight to the Pinkwan Villa." Hearing this strange voice, a flash of displeasure crossed Lu Ruyan's eyes. She grabbed the phone to ask who it was, but the call had already been hung up. Seeing this, Shin Jushin could only offer some excuses to soothe her. "Don't you know what kind of person Ning Mingmu is? Didn't she just say she was busy? She's a bridesmaid. Maybe she just left her phone with a friend. Don't be jealous about that. Hearing this, Lu Ruyan's expression softened. At 10:30, the wedding was about to begin, and guests were taking their seats one after another. I stood on the balcony of the top floor, looking down at the lawn decorated with roses, a flicker of surprise in my eyes. I had heard from my mother a few days ago that Bai Ningbing had planned and decorated this wedding herself, and she had put a lot of heart into it. But it wasn't until I saw it with my own eyes today that I realized my mother wasn't exaggerating. If anything, she was being modest. With the marriage between the Bai and Ning families, it was only natural that everyone of importance in the social circle would attend. But even at full capacity, there were 700 or 800 tables at most, so why such a massive venue? Although the sun was out, it was still winter, and there was a chill in the air outdoors. For the sake of the guests' comfort, countless air conditioners were placed all around, using fresh flowers flown in from Europe. They were arranged into flower stands, and the party favors given out at the front desk were heartlock charms made of pure gold. Every guest received one. The sheer extravagance was enough to startle even me, having grown up abroad. Just as I was about to comment on it, Bai Ningbing walked over, her tone filled with concern. It's cold outside, let's go in. I nodded. I followed her into the room, and she handed me a cup of hot coffee. Someone just called saying they've arrived in Jingbei. They asked where the wedding venue is. Is it a friend of yours? Should we have someone go to the entrance to greet them? A friend? What friend? A flicker of surprise crossed my face. I quickly picked up my phone to check the call log. Seeing the name, Shen Juxin, my expression instantly turned strange. Shen Juxin's call? He's in Jingbei? Bai Ningbing still didn't know what was going on. I nodded slightly, a cryptic smile tugging at the corners of my mouth. No need to greet them. They'll get in on their own. There are too many people here, and I see cameras from the nearby hills sneaking shots as well. I'll send someone to beef up security, just to be safe. Bai Ningbing didn't think much of it and agreed. Before she left, she handed me the wedding rings, and I watched her leave the room. Only then did I let out the laugh I'd been holding in for so long. Lu Ruyan has come to attend my wedding. I can't imagine how colorful her expression will be when she sees me standing on that stage. I lifted the ring box and opened it, freezing slightly when I saw the matching rings inside. I had seen these rings in a magazine 2 months ago and even shared them with Lu Ruyan. Back then, I was still imagining the day I would kneel before her and propose. Who could have guessed? Barely 15 days later, I would find out about her and Xing Yi, the long-awaited wedding and rings. I have them now, and as for the bride, a change is for the best. It's better than walking blindly into a pit of fire and burning myself alive, isn't it? As of today, I have no feelings of nostalgia left for anything that happened in the past 7 years, only relief. At 11 o'clock sharp, the wedding began on time, under the eyes of the crowd. Mr. Bai took his daughter's hand, walked slowly into the venue, and led her to my side. After finishing the preceding rituals, it was soon time for the ring exchange. Bai Ningbing picked up the ring, ready to put it on my finger. A commotion suddenly broke out in the audience. I looked toward the sound and saw Lu Ruyan at a glance. She was acting like a madwoman, pushing aside the people blocking her with her fists, her eyes bloodshot. She stared fixedly at the stage, her entire face twisted and distorted beyond recognition. Several of her close friends were charging along with her, shouting my name. This sudden turn of events attracted the attention of all the guests, their eyes darting back and forth between the stage and the crowd. Facing the malicious gazes coming from all sides, I remained calm. I turned to look at Bai Ningbing. Seeing her shock and confusion, I quickly explained, I'm sorry. They are friends of mine from outdoors. Could we pause the wedding for a few minutes so I can go over and talk to them? Bai Ningbing nodded hesitantly and signaled the staff to stop. The security guards had already subdued those causing the scene. They were just about to drag them out when they saw Bai Ningbing's signal and stopped. From start to finish, Lu Ruyan's gaze was locked firmly on me, never shifting for a second. Seeing me standing before her in a groom's suit, looking so indifferent, she could no longer control her temper. Gritting her teeth, she demanded, You said you were going to a friend's wedding? That friend is yourself? Seeing her so angry, I couldn't help but want to laugh. Generally speaking, isn't the expression I have a friend just a way of referring to oneself? Lu Ruyan was nearly laughed to madness by my 2 sentences. He closed his eyes, a raging fire of fury burning deep within his gaze. Is this your reason for marrying behind my back? What do you mean behind your back? The engagement between the Ning and Bai families has been circulating online for over a month. Lu Ruyan, do you not go online? Hearing this, Lu Ruyan seemed to remember something and suddenly turned to look at the groom beside him. Bai Ningbing's face was 70% similar to his, so Lu Ruyan recognized him instantly. His pupils dilated, the muscles at the corners of his mouth trembled slightly, and his entire being screamed 4 words. Unbelievable. Bai Nianbing's spouse was Ning Ming, but who was Ning Ming? Shen Zhuoxian and the others behind him also realized this, exclaiming in utter shock. Ning Ming, are you from the Ning family of Jingbei? I looked at them quietly, and patiently introduced myself. To be precise, I am the next successor of the Ning family of Jingbei, and Bai Nianbing's fiancé. Gentlemen, do you still have any doubts about my identity? That cold snort left all 6 of them silent. In Shanghai, these socialites could indeed command respect, but this was Jingbei, the nation's capital. Their small family backgrounds were simply insignificant in front of the Ning and Bai families. It is unknown how long the silence lasted before Lu Ruyan lowered his voice and asked a question that was very important to him. Why did you never say anything before? Didn't you hide many things from me as well? For instance, the age of 28. 2 sentences turned Lu Ruyan's face deathly pale, and he began to struggle again, explaining anxiously without pause. I can explain this, Ning Ming. It is true I never forgot Xingyi, but during these 7 years halfway through his sentence, Bai Nianbing, who had been observing calmly from the side, interrupted him. Take them away. After instructing the security guards, he took my hand and spoke to me very gently. It is not a suitable time to reminisce, Ning Ming. After the wedding concludes, we can invite your friends to dinner separately. Don't let the guests get impatient. I knew that, with his ability, he must have sensed something wrong within those few short minutes, which is why he stepped in to stop it. When Lu Ruyan brought people to crash the event earlier, I had already prepared myself for this wedding to be ruined. After all, the Bai family is also a prominent figure in Jingbei. The groom being harassed by an ex at the wedding venue is a loss of face they absolutely cannot afford. If things escalated further, the wedding might even be cancelled on the spot. Watching them being dragged away, I did not expect Bai Nianbing to make such a decisive choice. At such a critical juncture, I looked up and gave him a deep look, and although I nodded in agreement, I still had many doubts in my heart, but now is not a good time for explanations. Bai Nianbing held my arm, and we returned to the center of the stage together. Light piano music began to play again, and amidst the chorus of congratulations, the couple completed the exchange of rings. The moment the bouquet was tossed, petals, feathers, and ribbons fell from the sky. After ending this grand wedding, I felt a bit exhausted, sitting in the bridal suite with Bai Nianbing, pondering the day's events. I felt it was time to be open and honest with him and have a proper talk. So I spoke first. Is there anything you want to ask me about what happened today? Bai Nianbing gazed at me. If you want to tell me, then I have questions. If you don't want to tell me, then I have nothing to ask. His compromise and gentle attitude left me stunned. For the first time, I felt that I had married someone very extraordinary, and I couldn't help but look at him closely. Such a major disaster occurred at the wedding, yet he had no dissatisfaction, and was still able to calmly suppress his curiosity, respecting my rights and freedom. This breadth of mind and demeanor truly made me admire him. I couldn't help but ask him 2 questions. Aren't you curious about what kind of relationship I had with them? Aren't you worried that everything that happened today might have complicated consequences behind it? Bai Nianbing smiled, his eyes full of composure. I am curious and I am worried, but those things are not important. What is important is that our wedding has concluded successfully, you have become my husband, and we will walk hand in hand through many tomorrows. As for the past, if you are willing to share, I will be very happy. If you don't want to say, I can understand. Everything is in the past, so why dwell on what cannot be undone? His open-minded attitude made me wonder, is he really 2 years younger than me? To be 26 and have such a clear perspective. For a moment, I felt the gap between people, and my perception of Bai Nianbing was refreshed once again. Perhaps influenced by his words, I no longer wanted to keep things hidden, so I simply clarified. That group of people at the wedding, they were my ex-girlfriend and her friends. We dated for 7 years, and I had intended to marry her, but her heart was always with someone else. Once I found out, I decided to break up and return to Jingbei. Since my parents had been pressuring me to get married, I just agreed. Yesterday, I officially broke up with her. She didn't know I was a member of the Ning family, so she came to the wedding venue and caused a scene. As he listened, a very subtle expression appeared on Bai Nianbing's face. Break up yesterday, marry today? Isn't that a bit rash? It might be, but you and I are just in a business marriage. As long as we maintain a stable couple image in the eyes of outsiders, isn't that enough? As I said this, my face was full of matter-of-fact confidence, which made the smile at the corners of Bai Nianbing's mouth deepen. Don't you care what your marriage partner is like? Not particularly. I just want to inherit the Ning group as soon as possible. Hearing this, Bai Ningbing's heart trembled. He stared at me for a long time, then nodded gently. Then perhaps we will get along very well in the future. Dragged by security guards for hundreds of meters in public, never in her life had Lu Ruyan suffered such humiliation. Her clothes were torn into strips hanging from her shoulders. The skin on her back was bruised and scraped, and she was covered in dust and mud. Her friends didn't fare much better. The group was dumped at the manor gate, facing dozens of security guards, daring to be angry but not daring to speak out. Below the steps stood hundreds of reporters with cameras, who were distressed about not being able to capture this wedding of the century. A few sharp-eyed ones recognized Lu Ruyan immediately and rushed forward to interview her. Once a few started, a crowd of reporters swarmed in to take pictures and ask questions. Lu Ruyan was already in a terrible mood, and now that she had been photographed in such a disheveled state, she flew into a rage. She shoved those blocking her way, smashed several cameras, and stormed off with her group. That night, the news of Lu Ruyan beating a reporter made the entertainment headlines. The Lu Group's stock price plummeted overnight, and negative reports kept surfacing. Even with the Lu family spending money, they couldn't stop it. When Xing Ye's call came through, she had locked herself in her hotel room, smelling of alcohol. Lu Yan, I saw in the news that the person marrying into the Bai family is Ning Mu. Is Ning Mu part of the Ning family? So what if he is? Upon receiving the confirmation, a hint of excitement surfaced in Xing Ye's voice, laced with temptation. I heard that the joint project proposal of the 4 major families in Jinghuhang has already taken shape. I heard the final decision-making power for this project lies in Jingbei. Since you dated Ning Mu for so many years, is there any way to ask him for a favor and help us land this project? Although her head was fuzzy, Lu Ruyan still possessed a shred of reason. She sneered, her tone filled with despair. Ask him for a favor? He has already married Bai Ningbing. So what? Didn't you spend 7 years together? Even if you've broken up now, surely Ning Mu still has some lingering feelings? You should try. Uncle Lu just called me, asking where you were. His tone was very angry. If you secure this project, he will calm down and won't hold today's incident against you, right? Hearing this persuasion, Lu Ruyan felt slightly moved, but she didn't dare to commit outright, giving an ambiguous answer. After hanging up, she struggled to get up and went to the bathroom to splash her face, clearing her mind significantly. A few minutes later, Shin Jushin knocked and entered, pulling her into a discussion about the project as well. She leaned back on the sofa, eyes fixed deeply out the window, her mind in turmoil. This project was a lucrative prize that factions from Jingbei, Shanghai, and Hong Kong Macau were all scrambling for. The reason the 4 major Shanghai families joined forces was to secure it. According to the intelligence gathered, the person in charge of this project would most likely be Ning Xian, Ning Mu's aunt. If she could build a connection through her, it would truly double the results with half the effort. After deep contemplation, Lu Ruyan decided to give it a try, not just for the project but also for her own selfish motives. She still wanted to find an opportunity to meet with me one more time. The day after the wedding, having obtained our marriage certificate, I went straight to the Ning Group headquarters to prepare me for my new role as vice president and help me settle in as quickly as possible. Ning's father sent over several assistants and secretaries he had personally mentored. I spent the entire day reviewing files and reports, finally gaining a rough understanding of the inner workings of the group. By the time I gathered my thoughts, I realized it was already dark. My office was the only one in the entire building with the lights still on, so I rubbed my tired eyes, grabbed my bag, and headed downstairs. As soon as I reached the underground garage, I saw Bai Ningbing waiting to the side. I walked over and asked directly, "Aren't you busy today?" Bai Ningbing gave a faint smile, his tone tinged with a hint of helplessness. Today is only our 2nd day of marriage. Logically, I should still be on my honeymoon leave. Hearing this, and recalling the expression he wore this morning after we left the Civil Affairs Bureau and I said I was heading to the office, I finally understood what that subtle look had meant. I lowered my head, feeling a bit embarrassed, and offered an explanation. I'm new to this marriage thing and didn't have much experience, so I forgot about those things. Besides, honeymoons and the like are things normal couples worry about, aren't they? Ours is just a business marriage, so we shouldn't need to take time off, right? A flicker of barely perceptible disappointment flashed in Bai Ningbing's eyes, but he quickly composed himself. He opened the car door and gestured for me to get in. If you're busy, it's fine not to take leave, but since we are married after all, would a busy person like you be willing to join me for dinner, Mr. Ning? His tone carried a hint of teasing. Hearing that, I couldn't help but smile. We decided on dinner at a well-known Western restaurant. Since it was peak dining hour and we had arrived a bit late, the private rooms were all full, and I was hungry and didn't want to go through the trouble of finding another place. So after getting Bai Ningbing's agreement, we sat at a corner table by the window in the main dining area. After receiving the menu, Bai Ningbing handed it directly to me and began introducing a few of the restaurant's signature dishes. Following his suggestion, I ordered 4 or 5 dishes I liked, and then handed the menu to him, but Bai Ningbing didn't order anything else. In my memory, the 2 times we had eaten together previously, our tastes didn't seem to align. Seeing him decline, I worried he wouldn't be used to the food, so I kindly advised him, "Are you sure you don't want to order anything else? My taste can be a bit strange, and you might not be used to it." Bai Ningbing smiled and shook his head, his eyes shining as he looked at me. "Since we are married, we will be eating at the same table every day from now on. Whatever you like, I should try it too, and gradually get used to it. We are married, not indentured servants. We still have the right to choose the food we each like when we eat. You don't need to overthink it. If you have something to say, you can just say it directly. We can discuss it." After hearing me finish, Bai Ningbing looked slightly taken aback. He lowered his eyes, and his voice carried a light hint of joy. "In that case, can we discuss not canceling the honeymoon?" Seeing his serious expression, I had expected him to ask for something major, but for him to blurt out a honeymoon caught me off guard. "Do you really want to go on a honeymoon?" Bai Ningbing watched me quietly, his expression gentle and warm. "We've been busy with the wedding for a long time, and I'd really like to rest for a while. Both our families hope we can grow closer quickly, and I think a honeymoon is a perfect opportunity. What do you think?" Listening to his sincere tone, all the excuses I had prepared got stuck in my throat. In all honesty, Bai Ningbing is a great partner who respects my opinions in every aspect. For me, a honeymoon is something I could take or leave, and I didn't want to disregard his wishes over such a small matter. So I agreed. Upon receiving my confirmation, his smile grew even brighter. "Then let me handle the arrangements once you finish your current work." Lu Ruyan had waited downstairs at the Ning Group all day. Before finally catching sight of me, after following me to the restaurant, he also found a seat, hoping to find a chance to speak with me alone. But the whole evening, I never left my seat, and the sight of me laughing and sharing food with Bai Ningbing stung him deeply. Lu Ruyan's gaze remained fixed on my smiling face, and he subconsciously gripped his spoon so hard it almost bent. Once I finally stood up to head to the restroom, Lu Ruyan hurried out after me. He called out to me in the hallway, "Ning Ming, why did you agree to marry Bai Ningbing?" Hearing that familiar voice, I turned back, a flicker of surprise in my eyes. "If I recall correctly, we have already broken up, haven't we? Whether I get married or not, what does that have to do with you?" My indifferent tone made Lu Ruyan feel belittled, and a surge of anger welled up within him. But the marriage between the Ning and Bai families was set over a month ago, and we hadn't broken up yet at that time. "Had you already found someone else?" I crossed my arms, glanced at him, my tone still flat. "I had planned to return to Jingbei to get married over a month ago. However, what do you have to be angry about? You were able to plot from 7 years ago to break up on the day of Xing Ye's 28th birthday, so is it wrong for me to plan my own way out a month in advance?" My few words left Lu Ruyan speechless. He clenched his fists, suppressing the unwillingness and regret surging in his chest, and tried to justify himself. "Things between Xing Yi and me are not what you think. I know he doesn't love me, but after knowing each other for so many years, and having that pact, it became an obsession in my heart. I really did think about being with you properly. On the way to Jingbei, I was even prepared to propose to you. I had already picked out the wedding ring. Ning Ming, can you believe me just once?" Watching him say these words with such a soulful expression, I only felt it was laughable. Did he only remember me, his placeholder, after being thoroughly rejected by Xingyi? "I am already married, Lu Ruyan. You should take your ring and propose to Xingyi instead. Perhaps he will agree." My tone was filled with undisguised mockery, which made Lu Ruyan even more miserable. He stepped forward to grab my hand, but I avoided him. "Xingyi never loved me. It was my own foolishness before. I didn't see him for who he really was. It wasn't until after that birthday party that I realized, over these 7 years, I had grown accustomed to having you by my side. I truly wanted to marry you." Initially, I had thought that although Lu Ruyan played both sides, he still had a shred of sincerity. Now, hearing these words, I felt a bit disgusted. "You hate that Xing Yi wouldn't accept you, hate that he kept you as a backup. Do you feel that by waiting over a decade, your deep affection is heaven-sent, and you've almost moved yourself to tears? While you hate him, have you ever considered that you are essentially no different from Xingyi? He wouldn't commit to you, but kept you hanging. You, unwilling to let go, kept me hanging. You are birds of a feather. Why bother putting on this act of undying love and regret in front of me? After these words, the color drained from Lu Ruyan's face, leaving it deathly pale. I didn't care at all about his state of mind, nor did I want to continue this entanglement with him. I didn't look at him again, and turned to walk into the hall. As we brushed past each other, Lu Ruyan couldn't control himself anymore, and grabbed my arm. My patience reached its limit, and I shook him off directly. In our struggle, the old, dilapidated chandelier above us let out a sound and fell, heading straight toward my head. In the split second of danger, Lu Ruyan instinctively pushed me aside. With a loud bang, the heavy iron lamp, weighing dozens of pounds, crashed into his shoulder. I was pushed several meters away, prompting by Ningbing, who had just arrived, and the waiters who rushed over at the noise, to check on Lu Ruyan's injuries. Bai Ningbing also frowned and asked if I was hurt. After confirming I was safe and sound, he finally let out a sigh of relief and helped me leave the scene of the trouble. Still shaken, I didn't think too much, and leaned on him as we went downstairs. Watching the two of us leave hand in hand, Lu Ruyan, lying on the ground, bit his lip hard, refusing to make a sound, yet he couldn't stop the choking sobs in his throat. He closed his eyes in despair as scenes from his memories flashed by, all of them related to me. When his stomach trouble flared up, I stayed by his side without leaving, contacted many doctors, and constantly cared for his condition. When he bumped into a wall and his arm bruised, I would immediately boil eggs to gently massage it, my eyes full of heartache as I looked at him. When he suffered from insomnia at night, I would fight off my drowsiness to listen to various pieces of soft music with him and brew nourishing soups for him. In the past, as long as it involved him, I cared about everything. Now, even though he was injured like this to save me, I had no reaction at all, and calmly walked away with someone else. Only at this moment did Lu Ruyan finally realize that the me now was no longer the me he once knew. I was no longer his only consolation, and I no longer loved him. After arriving home, my mood finally settled down. I lay on the sofa, recalling the scene that had just occurred, and still felt a bit shocked. Just as I was about to vent to Bai Ningbing, I turned my head and saw him. He picked up the first aid kit and squatted down. I wasn't injured, so why did you bring that over? Bai Ningbing didn't answer me, just gently pointed at my ankle, and my gaze followed his finger. Only then did I notice a small patch of skin scraped off my heel by glass shards. He picked up a cotton swab and dabbed it with alcohol. His tone was exceptionally gentle. It might sting a little, this minor injury. In normal times, I wouldn't have even given it a second thought, so seeing him act so concerned, I felt a bit embarrassed. It's just a small cut, it would be fine without treatment. Don't worry so much. Even though I said that, the moment the alcohol touched the wound, I still gasped. After disinfecting it, Bai Ningbing picked up a bandage to cover the wound and stared intently at me. I'll have someone send over some waterproof supplies later. Remember to use them when you shower these next 2 days. Be careful not to let the wound get wet. If you go out, just wear slippers. I left home at a young age to live with my aunt. After returning to the country, 4 years of college and 6 years of dating, I have always been on my own in this city. This was the first time I had encountered someone who made such a big fuss over a tiny scratch on me. Apart from being startled, I also wanted to lighten the mood. Maybe by the time your supplies arrive, the wound will have already healed. Bai Ningbing lifted his eyes, staring fixedly at me with a sincerity I had never seen before. The reason you got hurt today was due to my oversight. I am hard-pressed to absolve myself of the blame. I don't know if it was because his tone was too sincere, or because of the fleeting self-reproach in his eyes, but my heartstrings were plucked, trembling uncontrollably. I lowered my eyes and nodded slightly. After Bai Ningbing left with the first aid kit, I received a call from Shinjuishin. Ningmu, can you really be this cold-hearted? Ruyan was so severely injured just to save you, and you won't even come to see her? If he hadn't been pestering me, the chandelier would never have hit him. His injury is just self-inflicted. How can you blame that on me? Regardless of what happened, he pushed you out of the way at a critical moment. Do you really have no regard for your old relationship at all? I would like to go see him, but I have an injury on my foot too, so I can't leave the house right now. There was silence on the phone for over 10 seconds. Shun Juixin cleared his throat and proposed a new condition. Forget about coming then, but favors must always be returned. How about this? I heard that in a month, there's the launch banquet for the Yundao project. You have your secretary send a few invitations over, and we'll call it even. Hearing this, I couldn't help but sneer in my heart. Good grief, so that's where they were waiting for me. I couldn't help but chuckle and agreed casually. After hanging up the phone, I sent a few messages to my aunt, asking about the specifics of the project, and then asked her to send over some invitations tomorrow. For the next few days, no matter where I went, Bai Ningbing followed me, At first, I would try to persuade her to go tend to her own affairs, but I was thwarted time and again by her using the engagement as an excuse. Gradually, I realized that as long as Bai Ningbin was by my side, no matter what problems I encountered at work, she could always offer timely advice, and I grew accustomed to her presence. After spending every day together, the two of us quickly became close. When I had to work late into the night, Bai Ningbin would sit by my side with her laptop, quietly doing her own work. As for our daily commute, whether it was thundering, raining, or snowing, she was always there on time, never missing a beat. Occasionally, if she had to go out for something, she would report to me immediately the time, the location, and when she would be back. She would explain everything clearly. Half a month later, during the Spring Festival, both the Bai and Ning families decided to gather together for a reunion dinner. A dozen people from the two families sat together, chatting boisterously, and inevitably the conversation revolved around the young couple who had recently married. My mother looked with gratification at Bai Ningbin, who was sitting next to me. Ningmu's stubborn temper is exactly the same as her aunt's. After she graduated, I asked her to return to Jingbei, but she wouldn't budge, insisting on striking out on her own. I can't do anything with her. Ningbin, if she does anything wrong, you must be more patient with her. With so many people present, my mother was complaining about me, and I was a bit dissatisfied, just about to defend myself, when Bai Ningbin placed the orange she had just peeled into my hand and smiled as she spoke. Mom, you're exaggerating. How is Ningmu stubborn? I think she is very independent and has a strong sense of purpose. In the future, working with her aunt, she will certainly be able to take on the heavy responsibilities of the Ning family. On the contrary, I should learn more from her. I mustn't hold her back. After Bai Ningbin finished speaking, the Bai family joined in the praise, leaving my mother beaming from ear to ear. Mother smilingly took my hand, her tone full of joy. As long as the two of you get along, we elders are happy. If you could have a child sooner, we would be even happier. At my mother's words, I was so startled that I couldn't even hold my spoon, and it clattered to the floor. When the elders heard this, they started teasing us as well. Bai Ningbin's face turned incredibly red in an instant. Noticing the change in her expression, I made up an excuse and took her to the back garden. After being hit by the cold winter breeze, her complexion slowly returned to normal. That banquet tomorrow. Are you going to? I suppose so. Lu Ruyan's invitation was sent out by me. I have to keep an eye on her and see what she's really up to. Are there any extra invitations? Give me one too. Hearing this, I looked up at her, filled with surprise. This project is all right, but haven't you and your eldest sister been busy with the Yuanchuan side recently? At such a critical moment, you still want to come and scout for information. Bai Ningbin knew I was just teasing, and she blinked rapidly to respond. Of course I'm not interested in this project. It's just that there's nothing to do during the holidays, so I wanted to tag along with you. The Yundao project banquet was held at the largest hotel in Jingbei. At 7 in the evening, the project manager walked slowly onto the stage and announced the formal start of the banquet. The Ning family's car got stuck in traffic and arrived half an hour late. As soon as the door was pushed open, Ning Xian was surrounded by opportunistic people who had been waiting at the entrance. Seeing so many people, I didn't want to get involved in this mess, so I took Bai Ningbin's hand and wove through the crowd to enter. The two of us moved through the hall, sampling the food and wine. Lu Ruyan, standing on the second floor with a glass of champagne, leaned against the railing and spotted me whispering to Bai Ningbin at a glance. In the past month, she had thought a lot. I had given up on her. I am a member of the Ning family, and I married Bai Ningbin. Whichever side it was, neither of them was someone she could afford to offend. So she had been telling herself to let go of the past and see reality clearly. But after such a long time of psychological preparation, when she saw us appear in front of her again, acting so intimately, she still felt a sense of indignation, and her expression darkened instantly. Xingyi, standing beside her, followed her gaze to me, his eyes lighting up as well, and then he pulled Su Jixia and headed downstairs. Seeing this, Shin Jushin also grabbed Lu Ruyan and followed. The four of them crossed the crowd and stood before me. Only Su Jixia recognized Bai Ningbin, so she spoke up first. Third Miss, long time no see. I heard you were recently married. Congratulations on your wedding. Although Bai Ningbin didn't care for Lu and Su, she still maintained her composure for the occasion, nodding slightly. Thank you. Once these two words were spoken, the atmosphere grew cold again. Su Jixia found it hard to continue, so she gave Xing Yi a look. He hurried forward and waved at me. Ningmu, do you remember me? We met more than 2 months ago. Faced with Xing Ye's enthusiastic attitude, I returned a shallow smile. Mr. Xing, long time no see. Hearing my voice, Lu Ruyan finally looked up. just in time to catch the cold look I cast her way. A faint smile appeared on her face. Ning Mu, long time no see. I heard you were injured that day, are you better now? Thanks to you, I've recovered quite well. My gentlemanly tone made Lu Ruyan tremble, and a look of guilt surfaced on her face. She couldn't help but want to explain, but before the words could leave her lips, she was interrupted by Ning Bin. Ning Mu and I are here to accompany my aunt to the banquet. I didn't expect to run into Su Jixia and Xing Yi here. Did you? Fly all the way to Jingbei for something specific. Hearing this, Xin Juxin quickly nudged Su Jixia, signaling her to seize the opportunity. Our families are also interested in this Yundao project, so we thought we'd come and take a look. We heard Ning Mu's aunt is the person in charge of this project. I wonder, Ning Bin, could you, in light of our past friendship, help us with an introduction? Ning Bin didn't answer her immediately, but looked down at me as if seeking my opinion. After an exchange of glances, I said slowly, Ning Bin and I would like to help, but as you can see, our aunt is currently tied up and can't get away, so I'm afraid it's not convenient. The three of them looked at each other, understanding that this meant a rejection, so they exchanged a few pleasantries and said their goodbyes. Only Lu Ruyan remained, staring at me intently, wanting to say something but holding back. I didn't want to engage with her, so I pulled by Ning Bin and walked away, but she, looking lost, followed behind us. From the hall, we went to the second floor, and she followed us to the garden. Seeing that no one was around, Ning Bin stopped and turned around, looking at Lu Ruyan with a cold face. Ms. Lu, following us all this way, do you have something to say? Lu Ruyan suddenly realized that her behavior was highly inappropriate. She hurriedly apologized. I am so sorry, I drank too much. I was a bit muddled and lost my way. Hearing this flimsy excuse, Lu Ruyan chuckled. Her tone, however, was icy cold. Being muddled for a moment is one thing, but don't make a habit of it. Ming Mu has a kind heart, but I have no connection with the Lu family, and there is no talk of old sentiments between us. The underlying threat in her words made Lu Ruyan's heart sink to the bottom. She knew that, with the Bai family's influence, if Ning Bin just said a few words, the Lu family might vanish from Shanghai one day. Lu Ruyan dared not gamble with her family's future, so she had to grit her teeth and swallow her pride. Lu Ruyan turned back toward the hall, but before she even entered, she heard a commotion inside. Xin Zhouxin's voice was exceptionally clear in the mix. President Ning, your nephew, and we have some connections. Could you please show some respect and drink this glass of wine we've offered? Surely that's not too much to ask. Although she didn't know what had happened inside, the moment she heard this, she realized something had gone wrong. She rushed in, just as she crossed through the crowd to the center of the hall. Before she could even offer an apology to President Ning, she saw Ning Xian pick up the phone to call security. In an instant, the whole hall fell silent, and the other guests looked on with gloating expressions at the four people whose faces had turned pale. Ning Xian, having been offended, remained cold-faced, showing no mercy, and spoke loudly for everyone to hear. Today is the project launch banquet for Yundao, not an opportunity to look for shortcuts. Since you have all received invitations, please listen carefully to the presentation that is about to begin, and do not try to use crooked schemes like these individuals. If you get kicked out of this banquet, don't blame me, Ning Xian. As a dozen security guards escorted the four away, I just happened to return with by Ning Bin. We, the couple, stood at the entrance for a long moment, then exchanged a glance, both seeing a smile in each other's eyes. With the troublemakers removed, I didn't want to stay, so I pulled by Ning Bin and said I wanted to go home. By Ning Bin, who complied with everything I wanted, sent a message to Ning Xian, and then we drove off. For the past few days, we had been staying at the old mansion. Since the household staff had gone home for the holiday, the house was empty. The two of us curled up on the sofa and watched a movie. Near midnight, I suddenly craved tangyuan. Since it was a holiday and the middle of the night, nearby shops and delivery services were all closed. Looking at the unable to deliver text on my phone, I let out a deep sigh. Seeing my troubled expression, Bai Ning Bin gave a gentle smile, stood up, went into the kitchen, and rummaged through the cupboard to find a bag of flour. Seeing her actions, I curiously went over, my eyes filled with surprise. You know how to make tangyuan? Bai Ning Bin saw me tinkering with the flour and knew I wanted to try, so she took down 2 aprons and put one on me. I don't, but I'll find a tutorial. It should be pretty simple, right? I thought she made a lot of sense, so I quickly opened my phone. After following the tutorial for over an hour, we managed to rub together a few uneven tangyuan, some big and some small. Once the water boiled, I wanted to drop them in, but Bai Ning Bin, worried I'd get scalded, took the plate from me and asked me to go get 2 bowls. There was no fermented rice at home, so she added some brown sugar to season the soup. By the time the 2 bowls were served, It was past 12. I used a spoon to scoop up the largest tangyuan in the bowl, and boasted in front of her, "The biggest one is mine. It looks like I'll have good luck this year." I took a bite, my smug expression frozen for a few seconds before I returned to normal. Seeing the change in my expression, Bai Ningbin smiled and asked, "Does it taste bad?" My eyes darted around, then I shook my head wildly, shoved the spoon toward her and urged, "It's delicious. Do you want to try some?" Bai Ningbin only took a single glance, and she knew the ping-pong-sized tangyuan I'd made wasn't cooked through, yet she didn't hesitate for a second, lowered her head, and ate the remaining half. Seeing that she'd fallen for it, I couldn't suppress my smirk any longer and quickly raised my hand to cover my face. "Is it good?" My tone was full of schadenfreude, but Bai Ningbin's face broke into a look of genuine delight, and she gave a thumbs up. "It's delicious, sweet and chewy. It suits my taste perfectly." When she said this, her eyes brightened, making it hard for me to tell if she was being sincere or not, but I still trusted my own taste buds. I set down the spoon and lifted her chin with one hand. Prying her mouth open, Bai Ningbin swallowed what was inside. When I finally managed to pry her mouth open, I saw nothing. It was clearly raw. "Are you lying to me?" Of course, finding out that I was the weasel all along. Unwilling to let it go, I chased her to scratch her, and Bai Ningbin laughed as she tried to dodge. I naturally refused to let her go, and in our playful scuffle, we rolled off the sofa. We tumbled onto the carpet together, face to face, nose to nose. The atmosphere in the air turned ambiguous in an instant, intoxicating and decadent. I could even hear the thunderous thumping of my heart from within my chest, and a flush of red rose to my face again. My brain told me that I should let her go in this situation, but when it came to action, I didn't want to lift my hand. As time passed, both of our breaths became increasingly hurried. The temperature of our closely pressed skin was also rising rapidly. From my pupils, Bai Ningbin could see her own reflection. She couldn't help but reach out her hand to touch my burning cheek. Finally, she grew still and closed her eyes. The end.